Hello, my name is Laura Bruqi, and I will be doing my book talk on Journey to the Center of the Earth. As freshmen, most of us took a geology class and snoozed through the notes on rocks. But imagine being alive in one of the most prolific scientific eras on Earth. The 19th century marked the birth of science fiction and modern science. Journey to the Center of the Earth is a science fiction novel written in 1864 by the famous Jules Verne, who has brought us books like Around the Earth in 80 Days and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Our story begins in Germany in the professor's house, where it is told through his nephew Axel. This is important because it allows the reader to have the contrast on how others view the professor and how Axel views him. In relation to his writing style, I like the book because Jules Verne writes the same way I write my stories. His writing is a mix of science, humor, mystery, adventure, romance, and drama. All of this is toppled in with amazing characters. For example, he's made one of the protagonists a scientific genius who also has a drinking problem. But with that said, the reader dismisses this character flaw because the professor only drinks a concoction of elixirs so that he can stay awake to finish his experiments. Verne also has a nice way of creating characters that readers will sympathize with and be drawn in by their complexity and depth. The Professor Otto is like this. I would describe him as a 19th century version of Rick from the Rick and Morty show. He drags his nephew through life-threatening adventures without any regard for his life, and he does this all for the purpose of scientific discovery. Now you may be wondering, why any characters sympathize with this? Well, that's where Axel's character comes in. He's a professor's nephew who basically keeps Otto on track, and he's grown up with him his entire life. He's not blinded by the hysteria of the undiscovered that has driven the professor mad, and provides commentary that allows the reader to know exactly what the professor is thinking and planning on doing. Axel also provides contrast, which highlights Otto's personality, in a way that characters like Henry and Victor from Frankenstein do. In this case, Otto be Victor, the mad genius who wants to be the first to go into uncharted territory, while Henry and Axel have the same scientific passion and love for science, but won't go to drastic extents. However, if you're a reader who doesn't care too much about characters, this book is a still great choice because of its language use. These passionate words can only be written by someone with a great imagination, like Jules Verne. His description of the center of the Earth and the place they come to is beyond amazing. The book describes the magnetic fields that provide challenges for both Otto and Axel, all the while also including an underground ocean full of deadly sea creatures. Verne takes you on a journey through time, whether it is being chased by dinosaurs or collecting extinct flower species. Verne's words make you feel as if you were running next to Axel trying to escape a giant T-Rex. While I was reading the book, Verne's use of figurative language inspired me to write my own stories because, like all great literature, it inspires you to be creative. Their settings take place in Otto's mansion, Icelandic volcanoes, and of course the center of the Earth. Their home truly shows the kind of characters they are. Otto has taken this beautiful house in his family and turned it into a giant geology and botany laboratory. His only servant is an old French cook who has to put up with Axel's insane hunger and the professor's crazy demands. For example, before they begin their journey, the professor locks the cook and Axel inside their house and doesn't allow them to leave until he has translated an old Icelandic manuscript. Lastly, the real reason I chose to read this book was because I've grown up reading Jules Verne stories. He could easily be considered a founding father of science fiction, seeing that he was one of the first of his time to write about traveling to the moon or diving down into the ocean in Captain Nemo's ship to fight against giant squids. I had only seen the movie of Journey to the Center of the Earth, but they don't do justice to the book. If you want to experience real writing in its purest form and become emotionally connected to characters and get to know them, this book is a great choice for you. I can guarantee you that as a reader, you will fall in love with the characters of Otto, Axel, and of course their Icelandic guide Hans. And to think, this amazing journey only began with someone turning over an old piece of paper to uncover Latin writing from a dead Viking. Of course, we have Axel to thank for this. I highly suggest that you read this book because it is amazing, it will inspire you, and the story will forever stick with you. And that concludes the end of this book talk. Thank you very much for your time.